Tanto se burla Andrés Manuel López Obrador de que tiene miedo a la justicia norteamericana, pues bueno, ahora sí debería de ponerse a temblar porque las máximas instituciones de ese país presionan a Joe Biden para intervenir militarmente en México. Y es que el fiscal general de Estados Unidos, Merrick Bryan Garland, compareció ante el Comité del Poder Judicial del Senado, en donde le reclamaron los senadores norteamericanos que no eleve a nivel de terroristas a los narcotraficantes mexicanos. Garland tuvo un mal jueves, ya que de las 4 horas y media que compareció ante los senadores, casi 3 horas fueron para recibir recriminaciones sobre su accionar en contra de los narcotraficantes mexicanos que operan al interior de Estados Unidos. Mientras que el pasado 4 de marzo, el anterior fiscal general de ese país, William P. Barr, publicó su columna en el Wall Street Journal, donde exige a Joe Biden que los narcotraficantes mexicanos sean catalogados como terroristas, y acusó directamente al presidente Andrés Manuel López Obrador de darles protección a estos cárteles. Estas peticiones de los exfiscal general y senadores, más el que hizo la directora de la DEA hace unas semanas, hay que ver el video de News México, ahí lo tenemos, donde hace esas declaraciones la directora de la DEA, tienen como implicación de que si el presidente Biden cede a las presiones, el ejército de Estados Unidos podría intervenir en México para cazar a los narcos, tal y como ocurrió en la famosa expedición punitiva de 1916 a 1917 para tratar de capturar a Pancho Villa. Pero escuchemos lo que dicen los dos fiscales en sus debidos momentos. Dejamos la versión en inglés para que la gente de Morena, que es la que muy quejumbrosa, que dice que se hacen las traducciones a modo, bueno, pues entonces que ellos la hagan y escuchen directamente lo que están diciendo estos personajes.
It was laced with fentanyl, and they died from taking one pill, both of them. She said, as I quote, "This is a war, act like it, do something." So 106,000 people died from drug overdoses, 70,000 from fentanyl last year, and it's getting worse. The leading cause of death for Americans age 18 to 45 is death by fentanyl poisoning. What are we doing? What is that something? So I hope we'll recommit ourselves, Mr. Chairman, at this hearing to do something. To act like we're at a war, because we are. Foreign terrorist organization designation for the Taliban. That's a good thing. Other groups. How about making drug cartels in Mexico and other places foreign terrorist organizations under U.S. law, so we can go deeper and prosecute those who help these people poison America? So the bottom line, we're adrift as a nation. We're not taking the crime problem as seriously as we should. The world is on fire. We say that Putin's engaged in crimes against humanity. I agree with that statement, but we're not giving jets to the Ukrainians to defend themselves against the crime. So we got to up our game. And I hope by this hearing we will have a recommitment to convince the American people that we're going to keep you safe, that we're going to have policies to deal with the poisoning of America from fentanyl, that we're going to hold Mexico and other countries accountable, that most of this stuff comes from China, and enough is enough. We're going after those who are killing our kids from fentanyl. Gitmo. This administration let 2 detainees out of Gitmo. There's 30-something left. The recidivism rate is about 25, 34%, depending on who you ask. Now is not the time, after Afghanistan, to be letting people who've been in jail for 20 years because they're so dangerous out of jail. And I hope this administration will not empty Gitmo, because the worst thing we could do right now is let people go who have been involved in terrorist activities, who are still a danger, who are enemy combatants under international law, because of passage of time. So, Mr. Chairman, we all want to work with you on this side, but there is no strategy that I can discern about how to deal with the poisoning of Americans through fentanyl. Most Americans are worried about the rise in crime, and we need to reassure them we get it, that we're going to do better, that Schedule 1 designation for fentanyl expires at the end of the year. Mr. Chairman, I know you don't want that to happen. Senator Cotton's been ahead of this before any of us. So if you put arsenic in a pill, knowing somebody's going to take it, why aren't you charged with murder? You would be charged with murder. If you lace a pill with fentanyl, which is probably more lethal than arsenic, why aren't you charged with murder? We're going to have to deter those who are killing young people in America. We're going to have to put countries on notice that you're with us or you're against us when it comes to this scourge of fentanyl. We're going to have to control our border. We're going to have to come up with a rational immigration policy. We're going to have to change our asylum laws because everybody in the world believes if they get one foot in America, they never leave. On many fronts, law and order has broken down here at home, and the world is in chaos. China is watching what we do in Ukraine, and the question for all of us, are we doing enough to combat the threats that we're all living with? And I would say we're woefully inadequate in dealing with the threats that exist against America at home and abroad, and maybe this committee in a bipartisan fashion can do something about it. Thank you.
Second, keeping our country safe. The Justice Department is using every resource at our disposal to keep our country safe. We are working to counter, disrupt, and prosecute threats posed by nation states, terrorist groups, radicalized individuals, and cyber criminals. And together with our partners across the country, we are continuing to combat the rise in violent crime that began in 2020. All 94 of our U.S. attorneys' offices are working alongside their state and local partners to pursue district-specific violent crime reduction strategies. The department's grant-making components are providing financial assistance to local law enforcement agencies. At the same time, they are supporting community-led violence intervention efforts. And our law enforcement components are working with state, local, tribal, and territorial counterparts to apprehend the most dangerous fugitives and seize illegal drugs and illegal guns.
Former Attorney General Bill Barr says if the U.S. really wants to end the fentanyl crisis, it needs to take the fight to the cartels. In a Wall Street Journal op-ed, Barr says the U.S. military should attack cartels inside Mexico with or without the help of the Mexican government. Chief Washington correspondent Blake Berman asked the administration if this is a real possibility.
What about Bill Barr suggesting that maybe we put a military presence or have a military presence inside Mexico?
I'm not going to comment on what Bill Barr has said.
But has the president ever thought about that idea?
But you're asking me to comment on Bill Barr, who was the Attorney General during Trump's administration. I'm just not going to comment.
All right, not going to comment on that. Blake joining us live from the White House. Blake, did the White House say anything else?
Well, you saw in a little bit of that back and forth there, Nicole, the White House not really wanting to engage on that op-ed that was penned by Bill Barr, former U.S. Attorney General, on his thoughts as to how the U.S. government should be taking on cartels in Mexico. That op-ed was penned in the Wall Street Journal just yesterday. The last Attorney General in the Trump administration suggested the following. He said the U.S. needs to have a significant law enforcement and intelligence presence in Mexico, along with select military capabilities, as he put it. But he also said there should be support and participation from that country. He added that the U.S. needs to treat cartels like terrorist groups. Now, that essay just coming a day after the current Attorney General, Merrick Garland, testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee here in Washington that he would not be opposed to the idea of labeling the top cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. Garland also agreed that there might need to be stricter sentencing guidelines involving fentanyl. Also at the briefing today, Nicole, I asked the press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, if the Biden administration needs to reassess its posture against the cartels, given the recent concerns from those two most recent attorneys general. There was no real comment from her, Nicole, on that, as well as she said that she didn't necessarily want to get ahead of any potential DOJ actions. But keep in mind here, it's not like this was any sort of partisan issue or partisan concerns, Nicole. You've got Merrick Garland, the attorney general, appointed by a Democratic president, Bill Barr, an attorney general who was appointed by Republican president. Nicole.
Well, Blake, the administration, though, did take some action against the cartels just this week.
Yeah, they did. It came just yesterday, a notice, an announcement from over at the Treasury Department, and it was really a warning to American investors and to American tourists as well. The Treasury Department says the popular vacation spot of Puerto Vallarta, the Jalisco cartel there, is involved in what they're describing as a timeshare scheme. As a result, 8 companies linked to the fraud were just slapped with sanctions by the Treasury Department. Now, the head of OFAC, which is the Office of Foreign Assets Control, saying in a statement, quote, "This crime, which can defraud victims of their life savings, results in another significant revenue stream for the cartel and strengthens its overall criminal enterprise." So those sanctions came about, and the Treasury Department, Nicole says, the victims in this case, in many cases, are the elderly.
Yeah, we hate to hear that. Okay. Blake, thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
Bajamos todas las 6 de la noche.